Welcome to a brand new webisode. I'm driving through downtown and I just got done seeing Atlas Shrugged. I'll talk about it on Monday's show. It's Friday, but I wanted to make sure that I got my my initial thoughts down on the film. I was actually pleasantly surprised, and I think I've got the reason why it's, well, let me put it this way. Most people know the reason why it's getting such mixed reviews, and I'll get to that in a second. But there's something interesting in the film that I don't think people who are conservative or libertarian can quite understand and grasp, and why the dialogue seems a bit clunky. Now, before I get to that, let me say again, I was pleasantly surprised. I thought the acting was decent. The script was pretty good. Considering they only spent like $15 million on the film in and of itself, the quality of the film was decent. I think it's going to end up turning into something similar to what happened with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. With the Chronicles of Narnia. For those that aren't familiar, that initial movie was made on a pretty small budget, and as they progressed with the other two films, they were able to have a larger budget to pull from. The one thing about Atlas Shrugged that I still kind of am bummed about is that it really does lend itself. The source material obviously lends itself to a big, sweeping production that, I mean, it could be an amazing film. And that isn't to say this film was bad. I really enjoyed it. However, you know, given the budget and with that comes the level of talent, you're destined to get the product that you're paying for. Okay. So again, with that said, I was pleasantly surprised, but I also went in with really low expectations. And it made me, at the end of the film, I usually judge movies on whether or not I want them to be over, or whether or not I'm clamoring for the film to go on longer and I'm checking my watch. Usually if I'm checking my watch and I'm thinking, oh, I don't want the film to be over because I'm really enjoying it, then I know I've got a good film. This was one of those films where I was checking my watch going, oh, I hope it's not over yet. I really want to continue watching these characters and I really want to see the story develop. Now, having read the book, I know what comes next, and so obviously I'm clamoring for more. And so anyway, I really enjoyed the film. It's going to continue to do well, and I think as it gets into wider release, you're going to see it do better. And there's a reason for this. And that goes back to the source material. You're dealing with some pretty interesting source material, which is why the initial book has been so popular, especially now. Now, I can give you the same, you know, reasoning that people watching it are going, these are the things that are happening now, and they're actually speaking the truth to a certain extent. I mean, just now as I'm driving down the road and I'm listening to the radio and I'm hearing Barack Obama on the campaign trail right now, the parallels are just incredible. I'm looking at the high gas prices, and while in the movie it's $37 a gallon, for a lot of people, even here in Tucson, when you're looking at $3.50, $4 in other parts of the country, it might as well be $37 a gallon. Okay, so why is the film itself so polarizing? Okay, obviously it's the source content, right? But why? And this is the one thing that I haven't heard anybody else talk about. You hear people talking about who aren't conservative, aren't libertarian, and they'll just rip the politics to shreds and the wooden actors and everything else. But there's another layer to that whole argument, and that is you don't see films, entertainment, ever talk the way that people in the film are talking. It's really quite simple. I mean, I'm watching the film and I'm thinking, boy, the dialogue sounds weird. And I go, well, of course the dialogue sounds weird. We don't have any major movies that talk like this. We don't have any major movies that talk about how it's okay and good to make money and to espouse the dangers of social justice, spreading the wealth around, the Robin Hood mentality. When do you ever see that? Now, you might see it in the news, you know, Fox News, commentators, talk show hosts, but you never see actors on film, on TV, for the most part, talk like this. So, of course, it sounds foreign, and it sounds strange. So why is it, there's a website, for those that don't know, called RottenTomatoes.com, and they rate movies. And you can go on there and people can vote and judge on how a film is. So why is it that you've got a 7% rating from the critics and an 85% rating from the viewers? Well, mostly because, and let's be honest, conservatives and libertarians and independents who don't like what's going on in the country get the core of the message. But it's also because people are clamoring to see a different side. People are desperate to see somebody take a different stance that they actually feel, because the country is actually center-right. So, I mean, even I was a little bit uncomfortable, because a couple of times when and I mentioned a certain scene on the air that I had seen on TV, where they were talking to the producers and they showed a clip of the film, and I kind of like, that sounds weird. And I go, oh yeah, of course it sounds weird, because actors don't usually speak dialogue like that. That's why it sounds weird. It's going to be very, very interesting to see if the film, when it goes into wide release, ends up gaining a wider audience, and I think it will, and to see the popularity of the film rise. It's fascinating. It really is. Now, I was hesitant to, well, let me put it this way. I was going to go see it opening weekend, and then as the reviews started rolling out, I kind of was like, oh, I enjoyed the book so much, I really don't want to have that experience ruined, and I'd hate to see another example of a low-budget film trying to put up on screen in what would seem as a desperate attempt to convey some message, right? And it's one of the reasons why I didn't go see it in the opening week. And as a matter of fact, I was talking to somebody who worked at the movie theater, who listens to the show, who said the first week it didn't do very well when it first opened, but since then the audience has been growing. And like I said a second ago, it's now up at Oro Valley now, and they're talking about extending it. The producers of the film don't have enough copies for it to go to all the theaters that now want to show it, because it's actually making money. I think it has the potential to have an impact. Unfortunately, we need parts 2 and 3, and we need them now. To be honest with you, people need to see what the end result of the story is. I mean, that's the whole point. It certainly was a great setup, and I think that with a larger budget, which they'll get, they'll do better on parts 2 and 3, and perhaps maybe at some point down the road you'll see another version, or a different take, or a more high budget take. But I was impressed, and I was trying to go in from a standpoint of, am I just going to enjoy? Can I just enjoy this film? Can I just have a nice time watching this movie like I would any other film, or will it simply be a matter of being drawn into the source material? And the reality is, you can't help but be drawn into the source material, because you can't help but see the parallels of what we're seeing in everyday life, up on screen as well. I don't think I'll ever get as bad as Atlas Shrugged, but I was just listening to the radio, and the comment made that Obama has increased the deficit more in his first 2 years than all of the presidents combined. It's staggering. It is absolutely staggering. So there you go. I enjoyed it. It was low budget, but it wasn't bad. People had a problem with the main character, Dagny. I actually enjoyed her quite a bit. Some people are going to have, I think, some issues with the libertarian aspect of it, in terms of some of the promiscuity in the film, which is understandable and warranted. But at the same time, people also need to understand that Ayn Rand wasn't a conservative by any stretch of the imagination, and nor was she a Christian either. So there you go. Kind of want to see it again now. All right. I'll have more to say about it on Monday's show, and hopefully get some more thoughts, as hopefully more people will have seen it by then. So there's a new webisode. Now I'm going to shut off and not think about the show for another 24 hours.